Putin has once again proven that Trump is his bitch and will do anything to serve him. Here's why the meeting is actually being held in Alaska. All right, we have some breaking news. Donald Trump has been eagerly hyping up this upcoming meeting with Russian President Vladimir Putin in Alaska like it's some WWE match, when in reality, hundreds of thousands, millions of lives are on the line. I mean, the future of global democracy is on the line, but here's what's happening. The meeting is already over before it started. Putin is already humiliating Trump, humiliating the United States, and he has the upper hand in this meeting, inherently. He's going into a meeting negotiating with Donald Trump over territory that Trump has no inherent urge to protect. Zelensky's not going to be there. Ukrainian officials were blocked out of the meeting at the request of Vladimir Putin. Donald Trump didn't use any of his leverage to get Zelensky or Ukrainian officials FaceTime with Putin, and it's disgusting. So I want to break down why this is humiliating for Trump, why Putin chose Alaska in particular, because there is a reason that's deeper than meets the eye. I mean, at first, the venue just seems kind of like an odd choice, maybe based on geographical location, but in reality, it's a calculated power move from the Kremlin, and I'm going to use analysis from Jake Bro, who I find incredibly brilliant, a brilliant analyst, in just 1 second, but let's just start here. This CNN article reads, "Location matters." That's what former real estate mogul U.S. President Donald Trump said, and then moments later he announced that Alaska will be the place where he meets Putin. But Alaska was a place sold by Russia to the United States 158 years ago for $7.2 million. So they are meeting in a place that was sold to the United States from Russia so that Putin can sell his land-grabbing ambitions to the current deal-making president of the United States. And I put deal-making in quotes because he doesn't actually make deals. He just wants to desperately. He really wants to make any sort of deal. And that's the worry that a lot of NATO leaders have. Like, Trump has been itching to end any sort of war or do any sort of trade deal, and he's failed. He said 90 deals in 90 days. Well, we're 200 days in, and he's gotten, what, one deal, and we don't even have the text for it? So he's not actually able to make deals, and Putin may use that as leverage. He may trick Donald Trump. The conditions around Friday's summit so wildly favor Moscow, it is obvious why Putin leapt at the chance after months of fake negotiation, and don't make any mistake, it is fake negotiation from Vladimir Putin. It's hard to see how a deal emerges from the bilateral that does not eviscerate Ukraine. Kyiv and its European allies have reacted with understandable horror at the early ideas of the Trump envoy, Steve Witkoff, that Ukraine cede the remainders of certain regions in exchange for a ceasefire. This takes me on to Jake Bro's analysis. He says, Putin has once again proven that Trump is his bitch and will do anything to serve him. Why Alaska? And he explains why Alaska is the place. I'll link Jake's YouTube channel in the description below. Make sure you also subscribe to the Adam Mockler feed. We are going to be covering this relentlessly. He says, first, Putin is terrified of his plane being shot down. If Putin flew to the Middle East, then Ukrainian intelligence would get potentially 2 shots at him flying over other countries. Going to Alaska means he can safely travel over the North Pole. Second, Putin wants to visit U.S. soil and spit in the face of international law and the rules-based order. Putin has killed millions of people and is the #1 terrorist in the world. Trump is about to give him the red carpet treatment on U.S. soil. American democracy has fallen, and Putin wants to prove it to everyone. One more time. American democracy has fallen, and Putin wants to prove it to everyone by visiting the United States. You might as well have Kim Jong-un come as well. Yeah, just have Kim Jong-un come and just chill in the White House and maybe watch a movie with you or something. At this point, Trump is legitimizing terrorists. I mean, you can invite the leader of Hamas as well if you want. Third, Alaska used to be Russian territory. This is the big one. This will be a coup for Russian nationalists at home who already want to see Alaska return to Putin's new Russian empire. The Russian empire, by the way, that Putin is building through his invasion of Ukraine, via his invasion of neighboring territories. This is what he is building towards, and Trump is allowing it to happen. Trump is going to kiss Putin's feet, welcoming the Tsar back to his old imperial territory. Trump just wants the attention. Putin is actually trying to build a new economic and political world order that can finally destroy the United States for good. So the stakes here go beyond just the current war, even though it's important. They go beyond Eastern Europe. Putin wants to build something that can destroy the United States. And here's what Trump is doing. He's promoting it like it's a WWE wrestling match. He said, the highly anticipated meeting between myself as President of the United States and Russian President Vladimir Putin of Russia will take place next Friday, August 15th, in the great state of Alaska. Dude, why don't you talk about Ukrainians or sovereignty? Why don't you actually stand up to Putin? It's like when he tries to make the Epstein situation about himself rather than the victims of the situation. Billboards with the slogan, "Alaska is ours," have been appearing in the Russian Federation for years now. Look at this one. "Alaska is ours," it says in Russian, on a billboard. And John Jackson points out that Trump did a 180 on his ultimatum against Russia, then doubled down on the humiliation by agreeing to meet in Alaska, the American land that Russia has threatened to invade. The absurdity is endless. That brings me on to another point that we cannot forget. Donald Trump has been setting these arbitrary deadlines. First, it was day one. He was going to end the war before he got into office. Then, when he got in office, he said, in the next week, I'll end the war. Then he gave Putin 2 weeks. Then he gave Putin a 50-day deadline. Then he moved that deadline back to 2 weeks. Then he just eviscerated the deadline entirely, and now he agreed to be humiliated on our own homeland. Watch former UN Ambassador John Bolton, who has a sketchy past of his own, a terrible past of his own, just breaking down with Caitlin Collins why Trump is getting duped.
I mean, you were in the room in 2018 in Helsinki when this happened. What do you make of the fact that Putin has now been invited to Alaska?
Well, it's very gracious of Putin to come to former Russian America for this summit. This is not quite as bad as Trump inviting the Taliban to Camp David to talk about the peace negotiations in Afghanistan, but it certainly reminds one of that. The only better place for Putin than Alaska would be if the summit were being held in Moscow. So the initial setup, I think, is a great victory for Putin. He's a rogue leader of a pariah state, and he's going to be welcomed into the United States. Second, I have a feeling this is sliding very quickly in Russia's direction. We're not quite back at February the 28th in the Oval Office when Trump told Zelensky, you don't have any cards. But what's happening is that Russia and the United States are discussing what terms they're going to present to Zelensky. And it may well be that Zelensky has no choice here. Surrendering is always one way to get a peace deal.
We need to stand up for Ukraine and continue to fight. Julia Davis responds to Michael. So Michael McFaul pointed out, Trump has chosen to host Putin in a part of the former Russian Empire. Wonder if he knows that Russian nationalists claim that losing Alaska, like Ukraine, was a raw deal for Moscow that needs to be corrected. Again, the billboards that I was showing you say, Alaska is ours, and then Trump agrees to meet in Alaska. This dumbass doesn't even know he's falling into a trap. But then Julia Davis points out, Trump inviting war criminal Putin to America is nauseating enough, but hosting him in Alaska while Putin's pet propagandists routinely demand it back from the U.S. on state TV is beyond the pale. Unless Putin is arrested upon arrival, there's no excuse. But I think it's more likely Trump kisses Putin's bare feet than arrests him on the spot. Sorry for the imagery. One final thing. Zelensky, while we were sleeping in America, dismissed outright the territory swap proposal ahead of the Trump-Putin meeting. Trump keeps using this language saying, maybe we'll make a swap, maybe we'll make a deal, but if you cede any land to Vladimir Putin, any land, he will come back with a vengeance for more, and he will restore the former Russian Empire to a point that is stronger than the United States. And I'm not saying that is a good thing. It's a terrible thing. But that's the direction Trump is pointing us in through his naivete and his loyalty to Vladimir Putin, through egotistical... a lot of people think that Putin has dirt on Trump. I actually think it's simpler than that. There's proof that Trump is a raging narcissist. He is a malignant narcissist. And as YouTuber Vlad Vexler puts it, malignant narcissists get narcissistic supply. They feed their narcissistic addiction through talking to powerful people. And when he talks to powerful people like Putin, he's fed. He thinks his narcissistic supply is fed, and he's friends with them. So I'm gonna leave it there. Make sure you drop a like and subscribe. Go leave a rating, a positive 5-star rating for the Adam Mockler Show on Spotify, iTunes, Apple Music. I love you all. I'll see you in the next one, and peace out.